Hello and welcome to another episode of Come Internet with Me, the gentle web show about browsing the web together. You can find all of the links to the things that we search in today's episode in the box below, and find out more at comeinternetwith.me/support. Right, quite excited about today's guest. Let me share my screen. Today's guest is Momatoes. Momatoes is creating game and graphic design for wondrous storytelling. While juggling their day job, they try to write about games, about dooms, wizards, capybaras, and slinging dice, and sometimes even draw uncommon art. Their work captures unique, compelling perspectives, whether through high-stakes adventures, heartwarming stories, or even heists for lemons. Momatoes, would you like to come internet with me?
Hi. Hello. And the answer is, of course, I would absolutely love to come internet with you. Hello there.
Hello, nice to meet you. How's it going?
Doing well. It's currently 5 p.m. here, and it's the end of the day for me. And I think it's a fantastic time to start looking into some really interesting internet searches with you today.
Do you find that the later it gets, the more interesting your internet searches get?
Oh, you don't even know at like 11 p.m. It's like, do tarsiers eat are tarsiers carnivorous? And the answer to that is yes, they are carnivorous.
That sounds like a Wikipedia binge. Oh no,
Yep.
it's midnight and I've spent 2 hours on Wikipedia.
Yep. Story of my life.
Yeah. So what sort of games do you make? I know that you've got a project coming out on Kickstarter soon as well.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So the website kind of touches upon it, but I really started with just small, simple games about capybaras stealing lemons, and then suddenly it snowballed into games about memories, about a wizard trying to capture ambition before he basically dies or loses his power. And the Kickstarter, which is the biggest project so far, is this multiplayer tabletop RPG where players race against the literal time to save the world from an impending doom. So it's really a
Wow, that
passion
sounds
project.
awesome.
Yeah, I've run, I've written, I've laid it out, and it's coming to Kickstarter June 1. So just a couple of days to go.
This show should be out at some point in June. So everybody watching this should go and support the Kickstarter. I'll put a link in the box below.
I forgot to mention the actual name of the Kickstarter, which is tied to maybe our topic for later, but the name of the Kickstarter is ARC RPG.
It's
Sorry
ARC,
about
right?
that. ARC, correct. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, what is our topic for today? What are we searching?
Okay. Our topic for today is Human Brain Project.
The Human Brain Project.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's have a look. Let me just move this thing out of the way. Human Brain Project.
Yep.
Let's start with the Wikipedia.
So artificial intelligence and memory are like big topics for me. I'm by no means a neurology expert, but things like nostalgia, how we transmit, how we store memory, and what that means for our future and with computers has been super interesting to me. And this term kind of popped up the other day.
And that's why we're going to do the deep dive now.
Yes.
Okay, right, let's have a look. The Human Brain Project is a large 10-year scientific research project based on exascale supercomputers. Let's have a look to see. Exascale computing refers to computing systems capable of counting at least 10 to the power of 18 floating point operations per second. The terminology generally refers to the performance of supercomputer systems, and although no single machine has reached this goal as of January 2021, there are, I'm sure, machines coming. So it aims to build a collaborative ICT-based computer research infrastructure to allow researchers across Europe to advance knowledge in the fields of neuroscience, computing, and brain-related medicine. The project, which started in October 2013, is a European Commission funding Future and Emerging Technologies flagship project, coordinated by the School of Polytechnic. Let's have a look. It's largely funded by the European Union. It's based in Geneva and Switzerland. Strategic goals and organization. Fundamental to the Human Brain Project approach is to investigate the brain on a different spatial and temporal scales, from molecular to large networks, underlying hypercognitive processes, and from milliseconds to years. To achieve this goal, Human Brain Project relies on the collaboration of scientists from diverse disciplines, including neuroscience, philosophy, computer science, to take advantage of the loop of experimental data, modeling theories, and simulations. The idea is that empirical results are used to develop theories and then foster modeling simulations, which result in predictions that are in turn further verified by empirical results. Science. The primary objective to the Human Brain Project is to create ICT-based research infrastructure for brain research, cognitive neuroscience, and brain-inspired computing, which can be used by researchers worldwide. The project is divided into 12 sub-projects. Six of these develop ICT-based platforms, sub-projects 5 through 10, hardware, software, databases. These tools are available to researchers worldwide. 3 sub-projects gather data on empirical neuroscience and establish theoretical foundations, 1 through 4. And 1 is responsible for ethics. And I like how there's only one project that's the ethics.
It's the ethics.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the very last.
Yeah. So sub-project 1 is mouse brain organization, understanding the structure of the mouse brain and its electrical and chemical functions. Human brain, that's quite a big jump.
That's a big jump, yeah.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have gone to like pig's brain or something, you know, or like...
Yeah.
Human brain organization, understanding the structure. SP3, system and cognitive neuroscience, understanding how the brain performs its systems level cognitive function activities. Theoretical neuroscience, deriving high-level mathematical models to synthesize conclusions from the research data. Oh, here we go. We've got some interesting stuff now. Neuroinformatics, gathering, organizing, and making available brain data. Brain simulation, developing data-driven reconstructions of brain tissue and simulation capabilities to explore these reconstructions. High-level performance analytics and computing platform. Medical informatics, neuromorphic computing, neurobiotics, developing virtual and real robots. Okay, wow. And environments for testing brain simulations, management and coordination, and then ethics and society. What do we think so far?
I mean, it's a 10-year project, right? And they're using the top of the line computers to do this. I kind of quickly browsed through it. I think as of today, they haven't really they haven't really achieved most of their objectives, obviously, because this is so complex. But the fact that they've been at it for 10 years and there's such a wide scope of the project means that there is serious effort being put into this study.
Yep.
And I've also seen like China, US have similar projects, and I think they're all like very imaginatively named brain project as well. But it's really interesting. Like now we're kind of a very elementary, very unformed stage, but you can always extrapolate to the future. What would that look like? And there's that one subcommittee thinking of the ethics, so thank God they exist.
Well, at least
But,
they're included in the project, right?
yeah, they do
Yeah.
have one. And I
I
imagine a lot
think...
of people will be mad about it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
let's have a look at how they're funded, and then maybe I really want to have a look at these things here, like especially like the neurobiotics and stuff. But we'll just finish on the overview of the Human Brain Project. We'll dive in. So it's funded by the European Commission. What is their budget? Let's have a look. Initial funding of 8.3 million. The ramp-up phase ended in March 2016, and it's assessed every 2 years. The first of which began in April 2016. Second, 88 million euros started in 2018. Human Brain's total costs are estimated at 1 billion, of which 300 million will be provided by the European Commission, and the other 500 by national, public, and private organizations, and 19 million by the core ramp-up. Right. One of the project's primary hurdles is the systematic nature of the information collected from previous brain research. Neurological research data varies by biological organization schemes, species studied, and the development stages, making it difficult to collectively use the data and replicate the brain in a model that acts as a single system. Other obstacles include engineering problems involving power consumption, memory, and storage. For example, detailed neuron representations are very computationally expensive. The whole brain simulation is at the leading edge of our computational capability. Implications. Brain metal can be used to investigate signatures of disease in the brain and impact certain drugs. I mean, this is the problem with this is they're just like, oh, this is what we think we'll be able to do with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
In addition, detailed brain simulation requires significant computing power, leading to developments in supercomputing and energy-efficient brain-inspired computing techniques. Computational developments can be extended to areas such as data mining, telecommunications, appliances, and industrial uses. The ethical consequences of the project are also considered. The project follows a policy of responsible research and innovation, and its ethics advisory board is responsible for monitoring the use of human volunteers, animal subjects, and data collected. Implications on European society, industry, and economy are investigated by the program's Foresight Board. Criticism. In 2014, a letter sent by 154 European researchers complained that the Human Brain Project's overly narrow approach and interesting, threatening to boycott the project. Central to this controversy is an internal dispute about funding for cognitive scientists who study high-level brain functions, such as thought and behavior. However, the Human Brain Project stated that there is no question that cognition and behavior are vital to the Human Brain Project, explaining that cognitive neuroscience research was repositioned in the project to allow the core project to focus on building the platforms. So that's, I guess, like they wanted to focus more on the computer, like building the computer platforms.
Mm-hmm.
While neuroscience research generates vast amounts of valuable data, there is currently no technology for sharing, organizing, and analyzing or integrating this information beyond the papers and even databases. The Human Brain Project will provide the missing critical layer to move towards multi-level reconstruction and simulation of the brain. Well, okay. Look at this, though. In 2015, the project underwent a review process, and the 3-member executive committee led by Henry Markram, an Israeli neuroscientist, director of the Blue Brain Project and founder of the Human Brain Project, was dissolved and replaced by a 22-member governing board. So there was 3 people in charge, and then they replaced them with 22. That's really interesting.
Well, just 3 people up until that point, right?
Yeah, considering the budgets and stuff.
Yeah.
According to 2019 article, in 2013, the European Commission awarded his initiative, the Human Brain Project, a staggering €1 billion grant. The people I contacted struggled to name a major contribution that the Human Brain Project has made in the last decade. Ouch.
Ouch, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's other projects listed, but I want to have a look at some of this stuff. Should we have a look at neuroinformatics first? Or where do you want to go?
Yeah, let's go to neuroinformatics. Like, obviously there's big data available, but when you start putting like neurology into it, how do you organize that data?
Neuroinformatics is a field that combines informatics and neuroscience. Neuroinformatics is related to neuroscience data and the information processing by artificial neural networks. There are 3 main directions where neuroinformatics has to be applied: development of computational models of the nervous system and neural processes, the development of tools for analyzing and modeling neuroscience data, development of tools and databases for management and sharing of neuroscience data at all levels of analysis. So neuroinformatics is related with philosophy, computational theory of mind. In philosophy of mind, the computational theory of mind is known as computationalism, and is a family of views that hold that the human brain is an information processing system and that cognition and consciousness together are a form of computation. I mean, that's a very 21st century view of how the brain works. So you've got information processing theory, which is the approach to the study of cognitive development, involves development psychology to adopt informational processing perspective account for mental development. Right, in terms of processing power, one assumes. Natural computing terminology introduced to encompass 3 types of methods: those that take inspiration from nature, those that are based in computers to synthesize natural processes. All right. Neuroinformatics doesn't deal with matter or energy, so it can be seen as a branch of neurobiology that study version aspects of the nervous system. The term neuroinformatics seems to be used synonymously with cognitive informatics. All right. Whoa.
Wow. Look at that clip art.
I know. All right. Let's just go have, because if it can be used synonymously, let's go over here and have a look.
Yeah.
A figure illustrating the fields that contribute to the birth of cognitive science, including linguistics, anthropology, neuroscience, artificial intelligence, psychology, and philosophy. Who made this graph?
Like Bender.
Adapted from Miller George A. That's actually from a paper, right? Cognitive science is the interdisciplinary scientific study of the mind and the processes. It's interesting that it's like this has a whole bunch of different information.
Yeah, it's a whole field. Yeah.
Yeah. So neuroinformatics in neuropsychology and neurobiology. According to the German National Library, neuroinformatics is synonymous with neurocomputing, which is a separate Wikipedia page. So stuff that they do: artificial neural networks, brain emulation, and mind uploading. The brain emulation is the concept of creating a functioning computational model and emulation of the brain or brain in part. In December 2006, the Blue Brain Project completed a simulation of a rat's neocordial column. It's considered the smallest functional unit of the neocortex. That was in 2006. Contains 10,000 neurons. In November 2007, the project reported the end of its first phase, delivering a data-driven process for creating, validating, and researching the neocortical column. Okay. Mind uploading is the process of scanning a physical structure of the brain accurately enough to create an emulation of the mental state, including the long-term memory and self, and copying it into a computer in the digital form. The computer would then run a simulation of the brain's information processing, which it would respond essentially the same way as the original brain. You know, I'm just going to say that I don't think brain uploading is ever going to happen. And I think it's like a fundamental like misreading of the way that of what humans are, is that to say that like we can scan our brain and then it will be able to run. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just think it's nonsense. But anyway, let's continue. Continue down the list. Brain-computer interface research was followed. Brain-computer interface design. Well, Elon Musk has got his whole thing, right? What's it called? The Neuralink. You know, I don't think I'm going to put any sort of Elon Musk built chip in my head.
It's probably smart.
Imagine the people who are like driving Teslas and they have like the Tesla chip in their head or whatever, and like
the latest memes beamed to your head.
The latest, the latest Doge
Elon
memes.
Musk himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and maybe 1 in every 10,000 Neuralink people like get to go to Mars, get to go to the work camps on Mars or something.
Yeah, but I've kind of heard there's like, I don't know if it's like a service, but there's been some concerns like you can get some AI or some big data to like simulate an ancestor or a deceased relative. Like it's obviously very elementary, but it's
Hmm.
like a chatbot kind of capability. It's not the same as an uploaded brain. And what you said about the uploaded brain is I really resonate with that, especially since the Wikipedia said uploading the physical structure of the brain is basically the whole thing of mind uploading,
Hmm.
which doesn't sit well with me because the physical aspect of the brain is it feels like such an incomplete part of it.
Yeah.
Like, but of
And
course,
we
I'm
have
not a
neurons in our
neurologist.
gut as well, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Yeah, we
that's
have
cool.
neurons in our
Cool.
gut, which is like um, why our gut flora has such an important impact on mood and so on and so forth.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
maybe, well, we could come back to that.
Okay.
We could have a look and have a look for neuron. Let's go look now actually while we're here, while
Sure.
we're on the subject, and then we'll come back to some of this other stuff.
Yeah.
Hope I spelled that right. Yeah,
Wow.
your gut is directly connected to your brain. New study reveals how neurons in the gut wall relay sensory information to the spinal cord and brain, which may influence mood and well-being. And there's a whole field of study which is like new, which is called like it's like the study of the nervous system, gut flora, and hormones, and it's but it's like a psychology study. I can't remember what it's called. My friend was telling me about it.
Yeah.
So I have Crohn's disease, which is why I have like uh, an interest in this, in like gut flora, nervous
Yeah.
system stuff. But my friend who also has Crohn's disease was telling me about it, and it's essentially like the psychology of the gut health and how it influences like the wider. It's more, and also like they suggest that it'll be like a more holistic healthcare,
Mhm.
in future. The gut-brain axis performs several functions. The gut's own nervous system. The gut is unique amongst internal organs as it has its very own nervous system. This has been subject to the interest of Nick Spencer. The gut has its own nervous system which can function independently of the brain or spinal cord. Understanding how the gut communicates and controls other organs in the body can lead to important breakthroughs in disease treatment. And it's probably likely to do with your overall gut flora communicating with your gut, and then it's like when you're
Mhm.
hungry or whatever, that signal is coming from the gut flora who demand to be fed sugar or something rather than just feeling hungry.
Yeah.
Neuroinformatics, we had a look through this, but that was mind uploading. All right, cognitive. I mean, cognitive science sounds like it's legit. Levels of analysis.
Oof.
That's the same as we were talking about before in the
Yeah.
Human Brain Project, the 3 levels: interdisciplinary nature, cognitive science. The term cognitive and cognitive science is used for any kind of mental operational structure that could be studied in precise terms. The conceptualization is very broad and should not be confused with how cognitive is used in some traditions of analytical philosophy, where cognitive has to do with only formal rules and truth conditional semantics. Okay. The earliest entries of the word cognitive is taken to mean pertaining to the action or process of knowing. It shows the word was used at one time in the context of discussions of the Platonic theories of knowledge. Most in cognitive science, however, presumably do not believe their field is the study of anything as certain as knowledge sought by Plato. Scope,
Citation needed.
yeah, yeah, citation needed. Need to make sure I read those out. Artificial intelligence, attention. Um, Attention is the selection of important information, and the human mind is bombarded with millions of stimuli and must have a way of deciding which of these information to process. Attention is sometimes seen as a spotlight, meaning one can only shine the light on one particular set of information. Experiments that support this metaphor include the dichotic listening task and studies of inattentional blindness. Should we have a look at those?
Sure. Dichotic listening.
Knowledge and processing of language, learning and development, memory. We'll come back to that, as I know that's one of your topics that you said that you're interested in. So dichotic listening is the psychological test commonly used to investigate selective attention. In a standard dichotic listening test, a participant is presented with two different auditory stimuli simultaneously, usually speech, directed into different ears over headphones. In one type of test, participants are asked to only pay attention to one or both. Later, they are asked about the content of either the stimulus they were asked to attend to or the stimulus they were told to ignore. Fair enough. I wonder if there's a thing in here about if you are told to ignore it, that's the one that you end up focusing on.
Depends on the context, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if you're a kid and your parents like don't listen to the bad words, and then your mind will just pick up on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Or like, don't think about the elephant, and then you think about the elephant or whatever.
Yeah.
Inattentional blindness occurs when an individual fails to perceive an unexpected stimulus in plain sight, purely as a result of lack of attention rather than any vision defects or deficits. When it becomes impossible to attend to all stimuli in a given situation, a temporary blindness effect can occur as individuals fail to see unexpected but often salient objects or stimuli. A famous study that demonstrated inattentional blindness asked participants whether or not they noticed a gorilla walking through the scene of a visual task they'd been given. I've seen that on YouTube before, where like people just have no idea what's going on like right in front of them, because they're like booking into a hotel and there's like some crazy stuff happening.
Now I'm curious, they got a gorilla to be in that study.
Is someone dressed up as a gorilla?
Okay. Now I'm slightly disappointed now, but I think that makes
it's not a real
sense.
gorilla. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Recent evidence shows that patients with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, perform better attentionally when engaging with inattentional blindness tasks than control patients did, suggesting that some mental disorders may decrease the effect of this phenomenon. Interesting. This is the gorilla test, the best known study. Subjects were asked to watch a short video of two groups of people wearing black and white t-shirts passing a basketball around. Subjects were told to either count the passes made by one of the teams and to keep count of the bounce versus pass. The different version of the video, a person walks through the scene carrying an umbrella or wearing a full gorilla suit. After watching the video, the subjects were asked whether they noticed anything out of the ordinary taking place. In most groups, 50% of the subjects did not report seeing the gorilla because they were too focused on counting the balls. And then where did we had computational neuroscience.
Yeah.
Which
it's very mad.
Neurals, okay. Computational neuroscience. This is the only one we haven't read, like to go through the neuroinformatics, cognitive science, and computational neuroscience list. Computational neuroscience is a branch of neuroscience which employs mathematical models. Okay, so I mean, it's all very similar. I mean, it says like this is the Germans that said that this was the same as neuroinformatics. So they want to do single neuro. Maybe we should look at the models. Development of axonal patterning and guidance. How do axons and dendrites? Oh, here we go. This is like the actual how neurons work.
Neuron now, yeah.
Let's have a look. Biological neuron modules.
What you said about the gut flora, like is the gut flora, gut neurons different from the rest of the body's neurons?
I think that they're the same in the gut, but they're not connected to, they're connected to the spinal cord as a separate thing.
I see.
So, biological neuron model. Spiking neuron, mathematical descriptions. Come on, Wikipedia. Explain this to me. Okay. Biological neuron models are known as spiking neuron models and are mathematical descriptions of the properties of certain cells in the nervous system that generate sharp electrical potentials across their cell membrane, roughly 1 millisecond in duration. Spikes are transmitted along the axon. That's the axon.
Hmm.
Am I right in saying that? No.
I think so.
Transmitted along the axon and synapses from the sending neuron to many other neurons. Spiking neurons are considered to be a major information processor in the processing unit of the nervous system. Spiking neuron models can be divided into different categories. The most detailed mathematical models: neuron axon terminal, outputs, inputs. So dendrite is the input, and then axon is the output along this myelinated axon. Okay. So this is all of the stuff that they need to simulate in the computer.
Yep.
Okay. Should we go back to the human brain project and have a look
Sounds
at
a good idea.
some of the other stuff that they're doing? Brain simulation. I don't know which one you want to look at, but I thought this neurorobotics thing looked interesting.
Yeah. Let's go neurobiotics then brain simulation. I think they're probably highly related to
One another.
neurobotics. There you go.
Yeah. I'm just going to move these to the end of the list so we have them all in order that we looked at them from when I put them into the bookmarks. Neurorobotics, a combined study of neuroscience, robotics, and artificial intelligence. And it's the science of technology of embodied autonomous neural systems. Neural systems include brain-inspired algorithms, e.g. correctionist networks, computational models of biological neural networks, artificial spiking neural networks. Okay, so we just read about the spiking neurons, large-scale simulations of neuro microcircuits and actual biological systems, e.g. in vivo and in vitro neural nets. Such neural systems can be embodied in machines with mechanic or any other forms of physical actuation. Okay. This includes robotics, prosthetic, or wearable systems, but also at small scale, micro machines, and at the larger scales, furniture and infrastructures. Neurorobotics is that branch of neuroscience with robotics, essentially. Introduction. Neurobiotics represents the two-front approach to the study of intelligence. Neuroscience attempts to discern what intelligence consists of and how it works by investigating intelligent biological systems, while the study of artificial intelligence attempts to recreate intelligence through non-biological and artificial means. Neurorobotics is an overlap of the two, where biologically inspired theories are tested in a grounded environment with a physical implementation of said model. The success and failures of a neurorobot and the model it is built from can provide evidence to refute or support that theory. So this is back to that loop in the Human Brain Project. Major classes of neurorobotic models. Neurorobots are often used to study motor feedback and control systems and have proved their merit in developing controllers for robots. Locomotion is modeled by a number of neurologically inspired theories on the action of motor systems. Locomotion control has been mimicked using models of central pattern generators, biological neurocircuits that produce rhythmic outputs in the absence of rhythmic input. They are the source of tightly coupled patterns of neuroactivity that drive rhythmic and stereotype motor behaviors like walking, swimming, breathing, and chewing. Righto. So they use models of those clumps of neurons capable of driving repetitive behavior and making four-legged walking robots. In other groups, they've expanded the idea, combining rudimentary control systems into a hierarchical set of simple autonomous systems. This theory of motor action is based on the organization of cortical columns. It's the neurons in the cortex of the brain that could be successfully penetrated by a probe inserted perpendicularly into the cortical surface. Is there a picture? Was the cortical column what they simulated in the rat?
I think I remember it's like a representation of the neurocortex. But
Oh,
I'm not
yes.
sure
So
if
this is
that's like,
different.
yeah, it could be like represented by multiple cortical columns.
It's a group of neurons in the cortex of the brain that can be successfully penetrated by a probe inserted perpendicularly into the cortical surface, which have nearly identical receptive fields. Neurons with a mini-column encodes similar features, whereas a hypercolumn denotes a unit containing full of the Oh, I see. So the column is all of the neurons stuck together, and then they stick a probe in, and then they can stimulate those probes, and that's the cortical column that they're stimulating.
Mm.
A human cortex is between 2 and 3 millimeters thick. The number of layers is the same of most mammals. Yeah, look, there are 100 million cortical mini columns in the neocortex with 110 neurons each. Okay, where were we? We were in neurorobotics.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, learning and memory systems. Robots designed to test theories of animal memory. Many studies currently examine the memory of system of rats, particularly the rat hippocampus. Another study has produced a robot based on the proposed learning paradigm of barn owls for orientation and localization, based primarily on auditory and visual stimuli. You see, again, one of the things that I'm not so sure about is that plants verifiably have memory from this is actually the second episode this season where I'm going to bring up Monica Gagliano's Thus Spoke the Plant, but she is the person that discovered that plants have memory, and she gets in fights with people all the time because they're like, oh, but what's the mechanism for their memory? They don't have neurons. And she's like, I don't know. That's why we do science. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but memory isn't just neurons, because even something like you do a deadlift, right, and you do it wrong, and your muscles will remember it. Your muscles will store that experience somehow. It's not like it's not what you call like a statement memory. I'm not sure what the exact term is, but the muscle will remember it. There is a change that happened. That's so cool.
Let's have a look. That's a book about the discovery of plant memory, and I think it's plant cognition is what she studies. Ecological process by which organisms are able to gather information on variable conditions surrounding in collaboration with various disciplines and the sciences. And my research aims to expand our perception of animals and plants and more generally nature. Biological intelligence lab. That's pretty cool. But yeah, she's a bit of a hero of mine. I like really recommend reading Thus Spoke the Plant. But yeah, and that's why I'm somewhat skeptical again of this neuro robotics when they're like, oh, we're building memory systems when memory exists in plants. Action, selection, and value systems, sensory perception, biological robots are not officially neuro robots. They are not neurologically inspired AI systems, but actual neuro tissue wired into a robot. Whoa. See also Hybrot, a cybernetic organism in the form of a robot controlled by a computer consisting of both electronic and biological elements.
Ooh, rat neurons connected to a computer chip. Oh, before you go there though, if you go back to
Yep.
neurorobotics, in the action selection and value systems, it talks about how neurorobots can be used to study simple but still ethical interactions, like when there are more people than a life raft can hold, someone must leave the boat to save
Oh,
the
right.
rest.
Yep.
Yeah.
However, more neurorobots used in the study of action selection contend with much similar persuasions, such as self-preservation and perception of the population of robots in the study. These neurorobots are modeled after neuromodulation of synapses to encourage circuits with positive results. One such study of interaction involved the robot Darwin 7, which used visual, auditory, and stimulated taste to input to eat conductive metal blocks. The arbitrary chosen good blocks had a striped metal pattern on them, whilst bad blocks had a circular shape on them. The taste sense was simulated by conductivity of the blocks. The robot had positive and negative feedbacks in the taste based on its level of conductivity. The researchers observed the robot to see how it learned its action selection behaviors. Other studies have used herd or small robots, which feed on batteries strewn about the room and communicate its findings to other robots. Cool.
Yeah.
But they're all simulated though, like based on simple neural networks, I guess. Where it was this stuff, this hybrid robot. You got bio robots here, which is like a long message, but this one, the hybrid, is the one about the rat neurons connected to a computer chip. The feat was accomplished by Stephen Potter at Georgia Institute of Technology. In his experiment, Potter places a droplet of solution containing 1,000 rat neuron cells into a silicon chip that's embedded with 60 electrodes connected to an amplifier. The electrical signals that the cells fire at one another are picked up by the electrodes that then send the amplified signal to a computer. The computer in turn wirelessly relays the data to the robot. The robot then manifests its neuronal activity with physical motion. Each of its movements a direct result of the neurons talking to the neurons. The robot also sends information back to the cells equipped with light sensors, and the robot receives input at its location in the playpen from infrared signals lining the borders. Is there a photo?
Seems to be, yeah, paper. But maybe the paper has photos.
There it is.
Ooh. It looks like a vacuum machine.
What's it called? What is the robot vacuum machine called?
Oh, the Roomba.
A Roomba, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think Roombas will have
rat neurons?
Yeah, or maybe something a bit more complicated as it gets, as we get better at this, we can have like Roomba will be an actual pet.
It's interesting because we do have Tamagotchi. Like a lot of people love Tamagotchi, got attached to it. It's just a simple program. But using rat neurons, using biological neurons combined with computer, with AI, I think it's possible. I mean, certainly we can maybe create something that can grow in a limited sense, that has cognition in the sense that the scientists have been defining it. And I think you're right. Maybe because sorry, I have two minds about it. First, it's that it's such a really cool field, but the second is also like capitalism. Like they would only do this for mass production if they found any profit in it.
Yeah.
And doing something simple like robot pets for kids, for families, that's like super profitable thing that they would start doing. So I
Hmm.
think it's one of the more plausible applications of this, definitely much more feasible than mind uploading.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely,
Yeah. But also
definitely.
like what would that future look like? You have a pet robot that had rat neurons in it.
Yeah, or it's yeah, exactly, or a rat or something a little bit bigger and more intelligent, as you know, in 50 years' time.
But according to the Human Brain Project, after rat comes the human sub
Comes
project. There,
humans.
there's no
Yeah,
there's no
exactly.
middle step.
Um, this was biorobotics, so it has a cybernetics history, cybernetic theory, feedback loops, so on and so forth. Science. Cybernetics is often misunderstood because of the breadth of discipline it covers. The goal of cybernetics is to analyze systems and the process of any system or systems in an attempt to make them more efficient and effective. And then we've got bionics down here. The history of bionics goes back as far as... It's interesting that this doesn't have its own Wikipedia page or a link out to bionics on its own. Maybe I've just read too much cyberpunk and think it is actually a much bigger discipline.
Yeah.
History, prosthetics, hearing aids is part of biorobotics. That's interesting. Cochlear implants, a type of hearing aid for those who are deaf. Cochlear implants send signals straight into the auditory nerve, and the nerve is responsible for sound signals instead of sending the signals through the ear canal like normal hearing aids. New bone anchored Baha hearing aids. These hearing aids are used for people with severe hearing loss. Hearing aids attach to the bones of the middle ear to create sound vibrations in the skull and send the vibrations to the cochlea. Artificial sensing skin detects any pressure put on it and is meant for people who have lost any sense of feeling in parts of their bodies, such as diabetics with peripheral neuropathy. Bionic eye. Orthopedic bionics consists of advanced bionic limbs that can use a person's neuromuscular system to control the bionic limb. Okay, I think we're pretty much covered with
Yeah. But what
that.
you've mentioned stands out to me in all those applications. There's like no further links to like what the current technology is, what
Yeah,
the
that's really
controversies
true. It's
are.
just examples, isn't it? I mean, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that if I was to Google, if I was to like Wikipedia search
Mm.
a cochlear implant, yeah, maybe it's just we're at that point of Wikipedia that hasn't been fully like, you know, needs someone to go in and hyperlink it all. It's
Yeah.
not going to
The
be me
editor
though.
got tired. He had to take a
Yeah,
lunch
exactly.
break.
Yeah, exactly. So we've covered neuro robotics pretty extensively. Um, brain simulation was the other one that you wanted to look at
Yeah.
way back. Way back. I think that was the order. It doesn't really matter. Brain simulation is the concept of creating a functioning computer model of a brain or a part of a brain. Brain simulation projects intend to contribute to a complete understanding of the brain and eventually also assist the process of treating and diagnosing brain disease. Various simulations from around the world have been fully or partially released as open source, such as C. elegans is a free living transparent. Okay, so they can model a 1 millimeter nematode.
Nice.
And the Blue Brain Project Showcase. In 2013, the Human Brain Project, which has utilized techniques used by the Blue Brain Project and built upon them, created a brain simulation platform, an internet accessible collaborative platform designed for the simulation of brain models. It's weird that that doesn't have a link. There's
Yeah.
no citation there. It would be good to go have a look at their website. Blue Brain intends to create a computer simulation of mammalian cortical column down to the molecular level. That seems... It's interesting how like the as the more and more we read, like there's two. It seems to me anyway that there's kind of two separate. What's the word? there's two separate lines here. There's like they want to they want to simulate the brain and all the neurons, and then there's that where they want to simulate all of that plus the molecular process of those neurons working, which to me seems like in terms of how hard that is, you know what I mean? Because like it's like an order of magnitude higher. You're not just like simulating the inputs and outputs, you got to do all the molecules. I reckon that there is a lot that this field is nowhere near is actually nowhere near where they actually say that they want to be.
I mean, to be fair, the nematode, the roundworm, was mapped in 1985. It's actually pretty cool because 1985, that's even before dial-up and even before diskettes. So I can't imagine the effort that took. But then again, we went to the moon by the time already. But from 1985 until now, I think we now have simulation of a rat cortical column, right?
Yeah, I mean, it says here that the nematode roundworm was mapped in 1985 and it was simulated in 1993. And then, simulations of the complete neuromuscular system have developed, including simulation of the worm's physical movement. Some of these models, including source code, have been made available for download. However, there's still a lack of understanding about how the neurons and the connections between them generate the surprisingly complex range of behaviors that are observed in a relatively simple organism. This contrast between the apparent simplicity of how the mapped neurons interact with their neighbors and exceeding complexity of the overall brain function is an example of an emergent property. In philosophy, systems theory, and science and art, emergence occurs when an entity is observed to have properties its parts do not have on their own. Properties or behaviors such as emerge when the parts interact with a wider whole. This kind of emergent property is paralleled within artificial neural networks, the neurons which are exceedingly simple compared to their often complex abstract outputs. So again, the Human Brain Project, where we started, was making a lot of grand claims. Like the neurorobotics is just whatever it was, 8 neurons on a computer chip on a Roomba.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me like when you're a school kid, right? And you copy the words from a really complex chemistry textbook. You have no idea what you're writing. You're just copying it down. It sounds to me something similar like that. Like right now we're at the stage where we're copying what the neurons are like, how they're physically interacting with each other. But that word, the emergence, we're no closer to understanding how it all meshes together. And with the discoveries of like plants have memories, our guts have neurons, it seems like the goalposts always keeps moving. Like probably at 1985, they were thinking, "Oh, we've mapped a nematode. Tomorrow we're gonna do the rat, and next week we're gonna simulate a brain."
Yep, and computers are going to keep getting faster. You know, like in 1995, they'll be like, next year they'll be twice as fast or whatever in 18 months. Yeah, and it's a lot harder. It's still, I mean, this is really, I mean, it's really crazy. I haven't really like looked into this like ever, and I'm really glad that we're doing this now. Here we go. Look, we've got the brain map of the nematode. There's a picture of it. Can we open it?
They didn't add clip art.
Yeah.
Where's the budget going if there's no clip art?
I wonder if there's like, is there?
Yeah,
The one did I open the biggest one? Yeah.
Oh,
zoom
really?
in.
Okay.
That's the brain network of the C. elegans worm. Wow, there you go. So it's nice that there's a picture because there's been quite a text-heavy episode.
It's true.
Blue Brain and the Rat. Blue Brain, okay.
Okay.
We've already heard about them again. to create a computer simulation of a mammalian cortical column down to the molecular level. The project uses a supercomputer based on IBM's Blue Gene design to simulate the electrical behavior of neurons based on their synaptic connectivity and ion permeability. The project seeks to eventually reveal insights into human cognition and various psychiatric disorders caused by malfunctioning neurons, such as autism, and to understand how pharmacological agents affect network behavior. Grand claims. In late 2013, researchers in Japan and Germany used the K computer, the fourth fastest supercomputer, and simulation software Nest to simulate 1% of the human brain. It's interesting how all of this information isn't just there, like when we were, you know what I mean? Like all of these facts are hidden away in all of these different articles.
You're near the end of the article, right?
Yeah.
So we had to go quite deep to even see about this.
I mean, we've looked at like 14 different Wikipedia pages, and now we're like, oh, look, they've simulated 1% of the human brain. Meanwhile, back over there, I mean, over there in my tabs, they're talking about uploading people's brains. You know what I mean? And it's like 1% simulated. Simulation model or network consisting of 1.3 billion nerve cells connected to 10.4 trillion synapses. To release this feat, the program recruited 82,000 processors. Process took 40 minutes to complete the simulation of 1 second of neurological network activity in real biological time. And then we're back on the loop now, the Human Brain Project. Yeah. Open source brain simulation. Various models have been released open source. Well, let's go back to the Human Brain Project. And what should we close out on? Maybe we should look at their website.
Yeah, maybe it has proper graphics.
Yeah, rather than staying in Wikipedia.
Yeah. I did kind of see a study somewhere. It was tackling the question like, if we could simulate a human brain, whose brain would we simulate first? And I mean,
because don't
obviously
they need to like cut it up?
Yeah, my first reaction was like, who? It's like a philosophical thing, like who would be the best candidate. But it's also similar to like how you pick astronauts for the moon. Like, what would an ideal candidate even be like? Who would you put the 10 billion euros on to scan their personality, their memories, or more realistically, the physical map of the neurons? What would it? Oh no, I have a feeling it'll be Elon Musk. Wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I mean, I just figured when they mean scanning people's brains, they like slice it and scan it, you know? So you'd have to be dead.
Oh, that's true. So it could be Elon Musk in the
Well,
future.
Yeah. and then whoops, that was the wrong button. Yeah, and then Elon Musk is like the voice of all of the Tesla cars after that.
Oh God.
Welcome to the Human Brain Project. The Human Brain, I mean, this website is...
It's very ambitious.
The aesthetics of it make me sad. The Human Brain Project aims to place a cutting-edge research project, explore the brain simulation, medicine robots. They've got news, webinars, brain-inspired computation, artificial intelligence. Videos don't work so well, but they have a video. We can watch. I was expecting more from the Human Brain Project's website, to be honest, but
it's true.
Highlights and achievements in their own words. 2021, eBrains powers brain simulations to give insight into consciousness and its disorders. Human brain researchers find new approach for energy efficient AI applications. So this is all part of their technology development, it must seem. New eBrains enabled tool to help guide surgery in drug-resistant epilepsy patients. Ultra-high definition predictive brain tool seeks to give surgeons a sharp eye to spot epilepsy in the patient's brain. That's whoops. Consciousness and its disorders are among the biggest challenges in neuroscience. Researchers are now combining state-of-the-art experimental science and new computational methods to make new processes. Clinical scientists of the Human Brain Project established methods to assess levels of consciousness directly from brain activity. Clinical scientists of the Human Brain Project established methods to assess levels of consciousness directly from brain activity. Now, advanced computational brain models running on eBrains help to understand complex underlying mechanisms across different levels of the brain. Models were systematically built from brain data and compasses of microscale neurons. Okay. So this is basically what neuroscientists study when they put people in fMRI machines. But now they can simulate that.
It has
An
more colors
objective
now.
measure of consciousness. Over the years, scientists have gathered an increasingly comprehensive view of the brain activity in different states of consciousness. We can see that unconsciousness is not simply a matter of loss of brain activity. It's not necessarily weaker, but it's a lot less complex. Starting from this observation, the scientists and his team have devised a method for an objective brain-based measure of consciousness levels called PCI. The perturbational complexity index. The approach relies on applying a strong magnetic pulse to a small brain region, which makes neurons fire, and simultaneously recording the overall brain response. Righto. Then they go deeper with computational models. Well, we're coming up on an hour. Reading about brains, but also my brain is fried.
I do have to apologize for like a super cerebral topic for today. I mean, a lot of it is like there's so much promise and there's so much hype around it. But it's also a really slow grind because every time we try to study about it, the more we try to know about it, the more we realize that what we know isn't even the tip of the iceberg. And something that struck me about the Human Brain Project, like the first few achievements that we saw, right? They were all mostly like medical applications, like epilepsy, determining consciousness, and a lot of the bigger sub projects they were really aiming to tackle, like mind simulation, robotics. It's not even their most prominent accomplishments lately, and I think maybe that's kind of a positive note because all of that money we've been pouring in, it does have practical applications to making humans healthier. I mean, it's really still a bit far out there. I don't see it being mainstreamed in hospitals quite soon, but it's kind of like some people complaining, why are we sending people to Mars? Why are we sending drones out there in space? But actually, the small breakthroughs that come through with that kind of progress trickles down and helps us in tiny little ways.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it pushes the state of everything forward, though, doesn't it? Like, in one way or another. That was really fun. I've learned a lot today. That's for sure.
Oh, now I know what the cortical column is.
Yeah.
And what the
Yeah,
nematode's
exactly.
brain map looks like.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming internet with me today. If you want to remind everyone that's still watching where they can find you on the internet and about your Kickstarter project.
All
as
right.
well?
So finding me on the internet, it's quite easy. It's momatoes.com, or if you're British, momatoes.com. And the same for Twitter. Also, and for my Kickstarter, you can learn more by going to arc-rpg.com. So it has all of the links, including the exciting Kickstarter. So we're getting a lot of talent also from Southeast Asia, because I do want to make sure that this once in a lifetime opportunity also helps uplifts others. So there's
Mm,
voices from within the region, and they are quite really exciting stretch goals planned in mind. So I do hope you do take a
awesome.
look.
Will do. And yeah, I hope everyone else does as well. Yeah, thank you so much for coming internet with me today. And yeah, be well.
Well, all right. Thank you so much.